We live in excess and are unaware of the cost of resources. If we are to make a change, it comes down to each and every one of us on an individual level.
How can we prosper environmentally and economically in the short and long run?
In the long run, as technology gets stronger and smarter, we'll be able to create a more effective economy, all while cutting down on emissions. However, in the short run, something like this isn't too possible, as it's not every day that somebody is coming up with a new idea on how to cut down on millions of tons of greenhouse gas emissions. It's a long process. However, as we're becoming more and more aware of the dangers that we're creating here on this planet, people are starting to think more green, which means it's almost inevitable that there will be more technological adaptations to improve both the economy and the environment.
This is the question for John. What would it cost to create a greener economy?
Thank you. That is a wonderful question. The cost of a greener environment. There is a link between underdeveloped nations and higher vulnerability to climate change. In other words, poorer countries can't afford to adapt. The lack of technology and poor information and skills creates a worse climate, a more dangerous climate. Indeed. Which means that in the long run, these countries aren't going to be able to afford going green because it costs too much. They don't have the money to support these new technologies and these new ideas, and they don't have the education to teach how to innovate. So in other words, the cost of going green is really expensive. Yes, we want to know, what trends have you observed between emissions and pollution?
Greenhouse gas emissions are mainly due to energy use and transportation. Energy consumption has grown approximately 22% and greenhouse gas emissions by 19% in 2013 compared to 2005. This triggers climate change and causes air pollution. Canada uses more energy than Africa, but only makes up less than half of 1% of the world's population. 749 megatons of greenhouse gas emissions were produced in 2005, and 726 megatons were produced in 2013. This demonstrates that we are acting and doing something, since there is less greenhouse gas emissions in 2013 compared to 2005, but it is not enough because the numbers are still very high.
This is the question for Grace. What have we as humans been doing wrong?
We as humans primarily put ourselves and the economy before the environment. Two major causes of pollution by humans is by burning fossil fuels and deforestation. Deforestation reduces the amount of vegetation that can reduce atmospheric carbon dioxide levels. The actions of humans result in removal of carbon from carbon sinks and directly add it to the atmosphere, which will ultimately affect planet Earth and therefore us. What are the effects that we can see today?
This is the answer to Grace's question. Some of the effects include the economy booming or busting, poverty and the unequal sharing of resources, and sickness and health complications due to air pollution.
Yeah, so we want to know, what are some everyday things that we can do?
This is the answer to John's question. Some simple steps that we can take would be to turn off the lights when we are done in a room, to minimize waste by recycling or composting, charging devices only when they need it, not when they are 50% done, having shorter showers, maybe only a 10-minute shower, and using public transport, walking or riding a bike instead of individual vehicles. The main idea here is that in order to make change, we, on an individual level, have to be conscious of our use of the Earth's resources and realize that all we have is in a finite supply.